ਗੁਰੂ ਰੂਪ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੋ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟੀ ਕੀਤੀ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਸਤਸੰਗਤ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ. Maharaj has blessed us with the opportunity to do Sangat again, to come into the true congregation where we learn about Nam, where we learn about what our purpose in life is. And Maharaj tells us that's the true insignia, the true sign of what Sangat is, where we learn about Nam. Maharaj says, Sat Sangat kaisi janiye, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਏਕੋ ਨਾਮ ਵਖਾਣੀਏ, ਏਕੋ ਨਾਮ ਹੁਕਮ ਹੈ, ਨਾਨਕ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਦੀਆ ਬਜਾਏ ਜੀਓ. That Nam is the command of God. It is the command that is in celestial sound, that is straight from the mouth of Vaheguru Ji. Now, last week we had discussed what Nam is and what misconceptions people have about Nam. And we had covered that Nam is above the Trigun. Nam is not a part of this illusion that we have come into, which is Maya. And it's not just a way of life. It's not just Gyan. And there was one aspect that we didn't cover, but that is that a lot of people define Nam as being the laws of nature. Now, just to make it clear, so that everyone knows, that Nam is actually celestial sound, which we discussed all last Sunday. So, just to make it clear that Nam is not the laws of nature, ਕਈ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰਕ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਨਾਮ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦੇ ਨਿਯਮ ਆ. ਸੋ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ 'ਚ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ that Kudrat, nature, is actually Maya. Maharaj in Gurbani tells us that this Maya has different forms, which we'll discuss today as to exactly what Maya is. And Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that Kudrat is actually Maya which is created by God. Nature is created by God. Maharaj tells us कि दुई कुदरत साजिए कर आसन डिठो चाओ. That Paramatma himself, they've taken a seat and they are watching this play. They are watching this entire play of Maya. Maharaj says in Gurbani, Api ne aap sajyo. Vaheguru Ji basically came from themselves. Api ne aap sajyo, api ne rachyo nao. That after that, Maharaj spoke Nam. Dui Kudrat Sajiye Kar Asan Ditho Chao. Then they created Maya. Maya is known as Kudrat, which is creation or nature. And Paramatma is seated within that creation. And they're watching that entire play that they've created, this illusion that we are in. So, then Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that this creation, this Kudrat, it's created by the Qadr, who is the Lord, the Creator. And Maharaj says, Sab teri Kudrat, tu Qadr karta paki nai pak. That you are the most pure of all. You're the purest of pure. And everything that we see, this is all your Maya, all your creation, and you are the creator. So basically, Maharaj has taught us in Gurbani that Nam is above Kudrat. It's above the laws of nature as well. When Maharaj wants to save their Bhagat, Maharaj can change, if they want, the laws of nature themselves. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, like Bhakt Prahlad Ji, they were attacked by their father, Harnaksh. And Harnaksh also had Bhakt Prahlad Ji thrown off a mountain into water. They tried to burn Bhakt Prahlad Ji with fire. But Vaheguru Ji never allowed that to happen. because they changed the laws of nature. ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਗਿਰ ਤਰ ਜਲ ਜਵਾਲਾ ਪੈ ਰਾਖਿਓ ਰਾਜਾ ਰਾਮ ਮਾਇਆ ਫੇਰੀ. Waheguru Ji changed the laws of nature. For instance, a fire burns. That's the law of nature for a fire. Fire has this distinction that it's going to burn. So Bhagat Prahlad Ji was saved from fire. They were saved from drowning in water. They were saved from being thrown off a mountain. Why? Because Waheguru Ji changed the laws of nature to save their own Bhagat. This tells us from reading Gurbani, from seeing what Waheguru Ji has done to save their Bhagats, that ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦੇ ਨਿਯਮ ਆ, the laws of nature, that's not Naam. Naam is above Maya, is above Kudrat, is above the laws of nature. So, what is Maya? That's our topic for today. Maharaj tells us that Maya has two different main forms. Maya is an illusion, and it's such an illusion that when our mind enters Maya, our mind itself comes into doubt and gets disillusioned. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that Maya has this physical form which starts from our body. ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹੋ ਸਰੀਰ ਸਭ ਮੂਲ ਹੈ ਮਾਇਆ, ਦੂਜੈ ਪਾਏ ਪਰਮ ਭੁਲਾਇਆ. That our body itself, the physical body, is Maya. When we attach with this Maya, we get love for the second one, which is either Kal or Maya. Kal is also known as Shaitan in Gurbani, which is translated to Satan in English. And our love for Maya, for Kal, takes us away from God and brings us into Param, into doubt, into disillusion. Then Maya has another form as well, which is known as Sukham, which is invisible, and that is where we are in the Trigun. Maharaj says, Rajgun, Tamgun, Satgun, Kiya e teri sab Maya. That the Trigun, where we come into thoughts, where we come every day, whether we are having good positive thoughts of compassion, humility, humbleness, contentment, commitment, and truth, those are all positive qualities. Doing charity or helping others, that's called Satogun. Rajogun is where we come into the sphere of thinking about how to raise ourselves within this world, having goals and aspirations for the future, which have to do with arthachara, about how to live our life, whether it's business, school that we're doing, or whatever work we do in this world to provide for our families, for ourselves, sustenance, basically. That's called Rajogun. Tamogun is the negative qualities, where it's all about lust, anger, greed, worldly attachment, ego, slander, gossip. That's known as Tamogun. Maharaj says, Rajgun, Tamgun, Satgun, Kiya e teri sab Maya. Our mind is constantly stuck within these Trigun, and this Trigun, Rajogun, Tamogun, Satogun, are known as Sukham Maya, invisible Maya. We know it's there because we have these thoughts, but we don't actually see it. It's not in the physical world that we're looking at. We don't see Satoguna because it's just thoughts and feelings that we have inside. Now, Maya, the best translation in English for Maya is that it is an illusion. Maharaj in Gurbani tells us Maya is an illusion, and they actually ask a question. They say, Maya kisnu aakhi hai? Kya Maya karam kamaye? That what should we call Maya? And what kind of action does Maya do? Maharaj then tells us, दुख सुख एओ जियो बद्ध है होमै कर्म कमाए. That Maya is that place where our mind enters and it comes into pain or pleasure in the Triguna. And this mind of ours then develops ego within it. And within that ego, home, it works about in the Triloki, does karma, action. Dukh sukh eo jiyo baddh hai, home karma kamaye. Then Maharaj says, bin sabde param na chuki, na vichon home jaye. That without the shabd, without naam, that param, the disillusion that our mind is caught in, that doesn't disappear from within. That disillusion doesn't come off our mind, and our home, our ego doesn't disappear from within. And what kind of disillusion, what kind of maya are we caught in? That everything we see in life, it's an illusion. Maharaj says, Madhve, kya kahiye param aisa, jaisa maniye hoye na taisa. That Bhakt Ravidas ji tells us in Gurbani, what can we say about this illusion? That the way we believe the world is not actually how it is. Things aren't as they seem. And then they give us udaharans, examples of what's happening with our mind. Narpat ek singhasan soya, supne pya pikhari, achat raj bichrat dukh paya, sugat pei hamari. Like a king sitting upon his throne, falls asleep and starts dreaming. Then that king in that dream becomes a beggar and is poor. That's the type of state our mind is in. Our mind is actually a king within this body. Jinu Maharaj kende ya kaya nagari eman raja panchavasya vichari. That we have our five senses as our salakars. They help us make decisions. And our mind itself is the king inside this body. But when we come into Maya, we forget all that. We start to see a dream in this drishtaman, which isn't actually real, but we think it's real. And it's like a king sitting on his throne has fallen asleep and is dreaming. That's what's happened to us. Then they give us another example. Raj poyang prasang jaise hai, ab kach maram janaya. They say it's like a rope that's mistaken for a snake in the darkness. In the dark, there's a story about how a person walked through a room or was in a room and their foot touched upon a rope, but they thought it was a snake. Similarly, we're in the darkness of ignorance here in this land of Maya. We think that everything that we see is real, but it's not. And we're scared of all this Maya that we see before us because we don't know what the truth is. Anak katak jaise pool pare ab kehte kehna aya. Then they say, as many different golden bracelets are fashioned, they might have different designs and stuff, but they're all actually made from the same gold. That's how this Maya is. That Paramatma, Vaheguru has taken up all these different forms. That it's actually them that's doing this entire play. They've taken up all these different forms. And we just keep looking at the physical forms thinking everyone is different, but in reality, there is only one. And that is Vaheguru themselves. Anyone that enters this Maya, Maya puts them to sleep. Just as we discussed earlier, that the Triguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, Satoguna is where our mind is constantly caught in. We're either having thoughts or feelings at Satoguna, Tamoguna, Rajoguna. Very rarely do we actually rise above the Triguna. Maharaj says, Tehi guni sansar param sutta sutya ran mehani. That anyone that enters the Triguna, they have fallen asleep and have become disillusioned. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that those people who awake are the ones that have Guru's blessing upon them. Gur kirpa te se jan jage, jina har man vasya, bole amrit bani. Those Gurmukhs that have God instilled within their minds, they speak Amrit Bachan, words that are full of nectar. And by Guru's grace, they awake from this Maya's neend, the sleep that minds are all caught in. Maharaj tells us that the entire Jagat, the entire world, is asleep in Maya. This means that anyone that's not a Gurmukh, all Manmukhs are asleep. Maya mo iho jag sutta. That our minds have attached themselves to Maya, and thus we've fallen asleep. Then Maharaj says, Manmukh sutta Maya mo pyar. That the Manmukh is asleep because they've attached themselves to Maya and they have love for Maya. Gurmukh jage gun gyan bichar. The Gurmukhs, though, they remain awake. They do vichar. They discuss the qualities of Vaheguruji. They praise the Lord. Gurmukh jage gun gyan bichar. Sejan jage jin naam pyar. Anyone that has love for Naam, they are awoken. Our minds that have love for Maya, then if our mind is in such a state, it's known as a Manmukh. And if our mind has love for Naam, then our mind is awoken and is known as a Gurmukh. And in Maya, there's very few Gurmukhs. Mostly people are all asleep, attached to Maya. That's why Maharaj says, Sutade asankh Maya chuti karne Nanak se jagan je rasna naam ucharne. That there's countless people that are asleep because of this false Maya. The people that are awake are those that use their mouth, their tongue, to recite the name of the Lord. Maharaj then tells us that this illusion that we're stuck in, everyone that's a Manmukh is asleep. And how is this illusion, this param, to go away? Maya mo sabo jag soya, eho param keho kyon jai. That everyone is asleep in Maya. How is this illusion then to disappear from our mind? Maharaj then tells us, go into Sahaj. Go into that area where our mind is free of thought. Sahaj pya param khin mein natha mil jyoti jyot samai. That if we go into Sahaj where we're free of thoughts, then this illusion quickly disappears and our jyot, our light, the light of our mind, becomes Atmakarup and joins Vaheguruji forever. Until we realize that we're stuck in Maya, we're not going to be able to turn away from Maya. It makes it difficult. For instance, if a person is asleep and they're seeing a dream, they really like the dream, there's a lot of people that don't want to wake up from that. The mind has to make a decision as to where it wants to be. If it wants to remain asleep and not even try to get out of Tragun, then it's going to remain asleep. But that Maya then will bring us over and over again with its attraction into the Tragun. And our mind is going to be dukhi, is going to be in pain, is going to be in sorrow. That's why Maharaj says that this entire life that we see, it's a dream. Supne seti chit murkh laya. That a person is a fool if they attach themselves to a dream. ਸੁਪਨੇ ਸੇਤੀ ਚਿਤ ਮੂਰਖ ਲਾਇਆ ਬਿਸਰੈ ਰਾਜ ਰਸ ਭੋਗ ਜਾਗਤ ਪਖਲਾਇਆ. Eventually, everyone has to awaken from the dream. It's in our hands if we want to awaken ourselves. Maharaj has told us that we have to try to do Simran within our will that Vaheguruji has granted us. If we understand that we want to be awake, then we try to connect with the Naam. When we connect with Naam, Maharaj has told us that anyone that connects with Naam, they awaken. And ਜਿਹਨੂੰ Maharaj ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਧੁਨ ਉਪਜੈ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਜਗਾਇਆ, that anyone that has the shabd appear within themselves, anyone that hears the shabd Naam inside themselves, that they fully awaken. The Simran that we're doing, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ Maharaj ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਿਮਰ 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 ਗੁਰ ਆਪਣਾ ਸੋਇਆ man jagai. We're doing Simran. We're reciting the name of the Lord so that we can get to that state where we're fully awake. As we recite the name of the Lord, our mind starts to awaken from this Maya. If we do not do that, at the end of life, when we've breathed our last, the messengers of death, they will force us to awaken. ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਮ ਕੋ ਡੰਡ ਪਰਿਓ ਸਿਰ ਉਪਰ ਤਬ ਸੋਵਤ ਤੈ ਜਾਗਿਓ, that the messengers of death, to awaken us at the end, they will hit us on our head with a danda, a stick, and they'll force us awake. And that's why Maharaj here says that it's a fool that connects to the supana, connects to the dream, and likes it so much that they do not want to awaken. Supana seti chit murkhalaya. Because when that person has to wake up, bisare raj ras pog jagat pakhlaya. When they awaken, they get all startled as to what's happening. All that dream that they were having, where they had all these riches and whatnot within this dream, that disappears at that time. And the mind gets startled. The mind gets in a state where it's just head on as to what happened. Where am I? That's why Maharaj says, Jamko dand pareo sir upar tab sovet te jageo, kahan hot, ab kya pishtayo, shutat nahin pageo. Then the mind says, where am I? And then those jams, those messengers of death then say, it's too late now. You're in our grasp and you cannot escape. Maharaj says, Supne seti chit murkhalaya, bisre raj ras pog jagat pakhlaya, arja gei vihai tandataya. We take our entire lifetime here in all these entanglements of Maya, doing work within our world, within our lives, staying within our families, and not actually putting any direction for our mind towards the Lord. That we just live out our entire life in these entanglements of Maya. Now, if we think about it carefully, Maharaj isn't saying that do not work within the world. We are supposed to work within the world. We are supposed to stay within our families and remain on Satogun. But our first priority is to meet God. If we do not meet God, all these entanglements of Maya are going to bring us back again. We don't even know if our next life form is going to be a human form then. Maharaj says, Arja gei vihai tandataya, puran pena kam mohya maya. That everyone is attached to Maya, and they're so busy in Maya that their missions, their goals, and what they want within Maya, that's never accomplished fully. They always have that trishna for more in Maya. They always have that desire, that thirst for more in Maya. But their goals and aspirations don't get fully completed. Kya vichara jant ja playa. Then Maharaj, as always, tells us that what can the poor mind do, because in reality Vaheguruji has created this illusion. And it is a game that's being played, but on one side, Waheguruji is telling us through Gurbani to come out of this illusion, but it's our mind that actually doesn't want to leave it. And the poor mind, what can it actually do? That's how great this illusion is that God has created. In our life, we're here in Maya. When we're born, we have our body that realizes our hands and feet. We eventually come in front of a mirror and we start to think that we're this physical body. Now, according to Gurbani, this physical body is Maya. But look how deep this illusion is, that from birth to death, a person keeps thinking of themselves as being this body. They think of all the relationships, their family, as being true relationships, as being something that is going to carry over forever. Now, when we're born, our parents give us a name. Like, for instance, my name is Ranbir Singh. And when I look in the mirror when I was a kid, I'd see my body, I'd look at my face. This is how I look, this is my identity, this is what my name is. But this illusion is so vast that until you go into Guru Sahib Sharan, until you start doing Sangat, you don't realize that this body that you seem to identify with is actually just Maya. You aren't this physical form. You're within this body. This body is a house. And you are the mind that is actually within. The mind is Prakashrup. It's the form of light. And this body itself, Maya, it's a house for the mind. It's also known as a kappada. It's like we're wearing cloth. Like we have different types of clothes. As such, the mind has been given different clothes in the form of the physical body. Every mind has a different form that they've been given. And Maharaj tells us that our mind is an actor that's within this play. And Waheguruji has created this amazing play. In reality, there is only Waheguruji. They've taken up all these different forms themselves. And Maharaj tells us, Natua pekh dikhave bahubid jaisa hai o taisa re. That the actor wears different types of clothes, but inside the actor is the same. Maharaj tells us that this entire creation is actually a play that Waheguruji has staged. Ras mandal isnu kya hoya Gurbani vich. Ras mandal kino akhara, sagalo saaj rakhyo pasara. That we've been given all these different tools to act within this world. Bahubid roop rang apara. That everyone has all these different beautiful forms. Pekhe khusi bhog nahi hara. That we're all enjoying Maya. We're all happy running around in Maya. Sabras let bast narara. And we go after all the different delicacies, the different ras in Maya. But that vastu that we need, Nam, it's actually free of Maya. So this Maya that we're caught in, this illusion that we're in, it makes us think that we are part of this physical world, but we are not. Our mind has come into this physical body, and it's to leave this physical body eventually. And if we do not disconnect from Maya and connect with Nam, then we have to come back over and over into Maya. That's what we've fallen in love with and we've attached ourselves to, Maya. This Maya is also known as a power. Maharaj says, Teen guna ik sakt upaya. Sakt means Shakti, power. Mahamaya taki hai shaya. This Maya that we see is a shadow. It's the shadow of the Lord. For instance, when we see the sun rise in this world, in the physical world, and all the houses and trees and our bodies themselves have this shadow because of the light that we have outside. Similarly, Paramatma created the prakash of Nam. Paramatma said the word, which is the Shabd, Nam, and this shadow was created, known as Maya. Maya is a power that gave birth to the Triguna, which is another form of itself, which is invisible. That's why Maharaj says that Maya is also known as a mother. Maya Mai Triguna Prasut Jamaya. That Maya gave birth to the Triguna. And Maharaj tells us that this Sukhama Maya, that our mind is caught in, all the thoughts, Rajogun, Tamogun, Satogun, and Kal himself. Kal is another power of Vaheguruji. Maharaj says that all of Kal and this Maya, that Sukham, is the shadow of God. Jinu Maharaj kende Raj, Tam, Sat, Kal, Teri, Shaya. That it's the shadow of Vaheguruji, what we are seeing here. Kal is known as Satan. Kal has been given Maya to use to play with the mind. Maharaj says, Trigun Kale ki Sirkara, that the Trigun Maya, Sukham, has been allotted to Kal to use to play with the mind. Then Maharaj says, Khand Patal Deep Sab Loa Sab Kale Vas Aap Prabh Kiya. That everything in this physical plane that we see, all the different forms, planets, that's also been given to Kal to use. Khand Patal Deep Sab Loa Sab Kale Vas Aap Prabh Kiya. Kal then makes the mind play. Jinu Maharaj kende Kautak Kal e Hukum Pathaya. That Kal uses Maya and any means to make the mind play, so that the mind is preoccupied with the illusion. This illusion, the Maya, is also known as a serpent. Maharaj says, Maya Puengam Sarp hai, Jag Kerya Bikh Maye, that the entire world has been wrapped around by Maya and is stuck within the poison of Maya. Maya, as a serpent, has put her poison everywhere. Bikka maran har naam hai gur gurad sabd mukh paye. That to destroy the poison of Maya, we have to connect with Nam. And that Shabd that Guru gives us is known as Garad Shabd. Garad is like an eagle. It's a mystical bird, much larger than an eagle. But it's the enemy of a snake, enemy of a serpent. The Garad Shabd is used to relieve one of poison. And the Garad Shabd that Guru gives us is the Gur Mantra. When we chant the Gur Mantra, that zair, that poison of Maya, starts to come off our mind. Bikka maran har naam hai gur garad sabd mukh paye. Then Maharaj says, Maya hoi nagni, jagat rahi laptaye. That the Maya is a poisonous snake, like a cobra. Maya hoi nagni, jagat rahi laptaye. Iski seva jo kare, tisi ko fir khaye. Anyone that serves Maya, Maya then eats that mind up. Gurmukh koi gardu, tin maldal lai paye, nanak sei ubre, je sach rehe lavlaye. They say that the Gurmukh, they are known as gardu. They have that Garad mantra, which is the Gur mantra, and they crush Maya under their foot. Maharaj says, Nanak sei ubre je sach rehe lavlaye. And Gurmukhs, they are saved from Maya because they connect with Vaheguruji, such truth. Maya eats up all the manmukhs. It doesn't need teeth. Maharaj says, Maya mamta moni, that Maya is very beautiful. Maya mamta moni, jin ven danta jag khaya. She's eating up the entire world without teeth. Manmukh khade, gurmukh ubre, jini sach naam chitlaya. The manmukhs are the ones that have been eaten up. The gurmukhs have been saved because they've attached their minds to Sach, Paramatma and Vaheguru Ji's Naam. If we remain within Maya, what happens is that we get poisoned by Maya. And anyone that has had too much poison, that poison does such an effect that it makes a person blind and deaf. Maharaj says, Maya tari at anna bola, sabdna suni borol kachola. If we've been engrossed in Maya so much, our mind becomes deaf and it becomes blind as well. We become deaf because we don't hear that shabd that Vaheguru Ji speaks. Instead, we have all this rala, this noise, distraction inside us of thoughts. And if we've been poisoned, we don't see. So we're known as being blind because we don't see Vaheguru Ji. And such a mind is then known as Maya Tari. That the mind has taken up its attachment with Maya and is unable to escape. Now Maharaj tells us that if we don't escape Maya, Maharaj says, "E sansar te tab hi shuto jo Maya neh laptavo," that we can only escape this world, this Triloki, if we do not attach ourselves with Maya. If we attach ourselves with Maya, then we have to come back, our mind does, over and over again in different forms. So that's why we're supposed to not be attached to Maya, to this illusion. Maya naam garb jon ka taitaj darsan pavo. That Maya is the cause of us going over and over again into the womb, where we're reborn with a different form. If we can get our mind disconnected from Maya, if we can turn our mind away from Maya, then we get the darshan of Vaheguru Ji. So how's our life being led in Maya? Maharaj then tells us. Maharaj says that our minds that are asleep in Maya, what we do is we start to collect everything that isn't going to save us in the end, that doesn't help us in the end. Maharaj tells us that anything that we're going to have to let go of in the end is what we're busy collecting all the time. For instance, we're all concerned about providing for our families, and we don't think about what our mind needs as well, which is Vaheguru Ji. And we're thinking about providing for ourselves, but we don't put any dhyan toward salvation. Maharaj says, Shod jahe se kare paral, that what we're going to have to abandon. We keep collecting in the form of parali, like parali is straw. That's what we're doing. We're just collecting straw here. All this money and wealth of the world has no value in Dargah. It's basically zilch, zero, and Maya is only up to this body and this physical sphere, and that's it. Shod jahe se kare paral, kamna ave se janjal. That all these entanglements of Maya, they're not going to help us hereafter. We're stuck in them because we need to provide for our body, but we should have priority for Vaheguru Ji in our mind. Shod jahe se kare paral, kamna ave se janjal, sangna chale tin syo heat. That anything that's not actually going to go with us, those are the things we love. Jo berai se meet. Any one that's in this Maya, they've befriended Kam, Krodh, Loma, Ahankar, and they've fallen asleep. Kam, Krodh, Loma, Ahankar, they're the enemies of our mind. But we think of them as friends. Jo berai se meet. Aise parma pulle sansara. Janam padarat khoe gawara. As such, the entire world has been confused, is in disillusion, and they've gone astray. Janam padarat khoe gawara. That our mission in life, this gift of life that we've been given, is for meeting Vaheguru Ji. And basically, by coming into Maya, we don't go towards that goal. And then we waste away this human precious life that we've been given. Janam padarat khoe gawara rahao. Sach dharma nahi pave ditha. We don't realize what such is. Such is Vaheguru Ji. But when we're manmukh, we don't realize that. And we don't realize the dharma, which is to practice such. We don't see that. Sach dharma nahi pave ditha. Chut to syo rachyo meetha. That chut to syo rachyo meetha, that we've attached ourselves to falsehood and deception. And we think that all this deception, falsehood, this Maya is sweet. Dat pyari visriya datara. That all the gifts that Vaheguru Ji has given us, we think that they're more precious to us. We love those gifts, but we forget the one that actually gave them to us. God gives us all these gifts that we've been given in this Maya, whether they're sukham, whether they're asthul. Maharaj says that we have love for all those dats, all those gifts, but we forget who gave us those gifts. Dat pyari visriya datara. Jane nahi maran vichara. That the poor mind doesn't realize that it's going to die one day. It's going to have to leave this world one day. And Maharaj then tells us, Vasta parai ko utharove. Anything that doesn't belong to it belongs to others. Basically, other people's possessions. Because nothing we're going to be able to take with us. And this all belongs to God. Vasta parai ko utharove. We cry for others' possessions. We cry for the possessions of others. Karma dharma sagala e khove. And those actions of dharma that we're supposed to do that bring us closer to Vaheguru Ji, we lose all that. Hukam na bujhe, avan jane. That we don't realize the command of God, and we're in this reincarnation cycle where we come over and over again into the world. Paap kare tam pashutane. That we do sin and then we have to regret for it. Then Maharaj tells us, Jo tud pave so parwan, that whatever pleases Vaheguru Ji, that is acceptable. Tere pane no kurban. That we are sacrificed to the will of the Lord. Nanak garib banda jan tera, rakh le sahib prab mera. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says that I am your slave, your humble servant, and save me. Rakh le sahib prab mera, my Lord. Save me, my Lord. So basically, Maharaj has taught us that in such a situation where we're asleep in Maya, we should try to go into the shelter of Vaheguru Ji. We should try to be asking Vaheguru Ji for help to escape this Maya. Now, Maharaj has taught us that what we're seeing, this is an entire illusion. This is a dream that's happening. But it's up to us now. Do we want to try to awaken ourselves? Or do we want to remain asleep? At a higher state of consciousness, the mind realizes, in reality, it's all a play. Jinu Maharaj kehinde sab kat mere, hon sabna andar, jise khwai tis kaun kahe. जिसे दिखाला वाटड़ी तिसे भुलावे कौन, जिसे भुलाई पंध सिर तिसे दिखावे कौन. That it's an entire play that Vaheguru Ji has taken up themselves. Sab kat mere hon sabna andar. That I'm within all forms belong to me, Vaheguru Ji says. Sab kat mere hon sabna andar, jise khwai tis kaun kahe. Anyone that's been led astray by Vaheguru Ji themselves, who can actually put them on the right path? जिसे खवाई तिस कौन कहे, जिसे दिखाला वाटड़ी तिसे भुलावे कौन. And anyone that Waheguru Ji shows the true path to, no one can make them forget either. No one can lead them astray. Jise pulai pandasir. And anyone that Maharaj has made to forget from the beginning, Jise pulai pandasir, this is dikhave kaun? That who's going to show the path of truth to that being that has been sent astray, has forgotten from the beginning through Waheguru Ji's command. Arthat, that all we can do is we can give it our best. We try to escape out of Maya. And we do beintiyan, ardas, requests in front of Waheguru Ji to save us. Ta Maharaj kehinde kar mehnat, kar jodadi, main prabh milne ka chao. That we have to put in effort. We have to pray to Waheguru Ji to save us from Maya. And that thirst, that cha to meet Waheguru Ji, that's important. So that desire to meet God, that's what's important to us. That's what we need within ourselves. Now, to get out of Maya, we have many different techniques that Maharaj has taught us. Sas Grat Simran, Sas Sas Simran, Rom Rom Simran. That's where our meditation starts from. Meditation is basically focusing, remembering. Now we remember the Lord, but we use the breath to do it. When we breathe, we use the air that we breathe to remember the Lord. Some people say that they should do Waheguru Waheguru, but they don't have any technique. Like for instance, some people say that doing Waheguru Waheguru is important because everyone knows that Naam Simran is mentioned in Gurbani. But they don't realize Maharaj has told us to do Simran with Swas. Sas Sas Simran. Sas Gras Simran. In English, focusing on your breath is known as breath work. Gurbani combines breath work and many different techniques of meditation, like technique of focusing on the Guru Mantra at the same time. So that's why we do Sasgra Simran. When we say Wahe, we try to pull our stomach in a bit so that our air goes fully down. And then our surati, our concentration, goes all the way to the navel as well. And Guru, when we say Guru, right after we relax our stomach and then we allow our surati, our concentration, to come back up. And then that starts to flow with the breath. Until the end, when we have to leave this world, our breath and our heartbeat are going to continue. When we have to leave this world, then the heartbeat's going to stop. Our breathing is going to stop. By using breathing as a Simran technique, Saskara Simran, Sasa Simran, we're basically making it easier for the mind to remember over and over again the Lord. And that Guru Mantra then easily comes to vas, stay within our mind. And then when we do Rom Rom Simran, we do that with our pulse and our heartbeat. And that also helps make that Guru Mantra go all the way through our body. Everywhere we put our dhyan in our body, then we start to hear the Guru Mantra. And it makes it even easier for us to have that Guru Mantra installed within our mind. Now, what happens is that everyone has different techniques they use to do Simran, but what we have to do is we have to stick with what Gurbani tells us. And people are getting, though, confused. Some pracharaks say one thing, one says another, and I know that a lot of people get confused. The point is, a true pracharak will always connect you with Sahib Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Bani is Satguru, and whatever they say is the truth. And our connection has to be with Satguru so that we understand what's false and what's true. Guru Sahib teaches us that we're here in Maya and we have to escape Maya, and then Maharaj gives us different techniques as to how we can make our mind free of the Trigun. We can make our mind peaceful. Now, if we connect with Gurbani, if we connect with Sahib Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and we read Gurbani and we do our own practical Naam Abhyas, we do meditation according to Gurbani, then that confusion goes away. So it's important that we try to understand Maharaj's Bani and read Gurbani as well, so that we can give our mind Gyan, knowledge of the divine. There's two techniques by which the mind starts to stop having thoughts, which is, one is the Simran that we do, the Gurmantar, and the other is to give it divine knowledge, which is the Gyan of Gurbani. Maharaj says, "E manua kyon kar vas ave?" How do we control our mind? Gur Prasadi Thakiye, with the Guru's Kirpa, stop our mind. That's what we do through Simran. Gyan means knowledge. Gyan mati kar ave. That knowledge, which is the divine knowledge, that helps our mind come into its true home, which is known as the Nijmal and Thirkar within us. So, ਅੱਜ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਬੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਸਨ। ਜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਬੋਲਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਇਨ ਸਪੀਕਿੰਗ ਇਫ ਆਈ ਮੇਡ ਐਨੀ ਮਿਸਟੇਕ ਕੋਈ ਅੱਖਰ ਵਾਧਾ ਘਾਟਾ ਭੁਲਚੁਕ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ, ਅਣਜਾਣ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਮੁਆਫ ਕਰਨਾ ਜੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।